Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for notifications on future uploads. Hello everyone, Bard here, or you can call me Sully. Yes, I know it's the new year now and I'm already way behind on this, but I want to conclude Disney's 100th anniversary with a review to the studio's first ever animated film that will be a live-action remake in the coming days, and I hope to enjoy it. And while I can't wait for that version, other than I feel like Snow White needs a red bow or band on her hair to complete the look, I'll just go over the original until then, which in my opinion is just good. First released on December 21st, 1937, it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Director David Hand has made a nice animated film based on the Grimm fairy tale with nice characters, a simple and decent story, okay songs, and beautiful and neat animation. The Wicked Queen has a jealousy towards her own daughter, the Princess Snow White, for being the fairest and beautiful of all, that the Queen puts Snow White in rags. But even when facing the magic mirror on the wall to ask who's the fairest one of all, the mirror still says that Snow White is the fairest. So the Queen orders the huntsman to take Snow White out and kill her, giving him a box to place her heart in for good measure. But the huntsman couldn't hurt Snow White, so he has her run away and never come back. Snow White gets lost in the woods and is eventually greeted by the animals of the forest, who bring her to a cottage she believes is home to 7 children. And as Snow White and the animals clean up the cottage, 7 dwarves were coming home from working in the mines, and see their home, the cottage, has been cleaned up and find Snow White sleeping in their beds. But the dwarves and Snow White soon became friends, and she, with a few introductions, guessed who each of them are. Doc, Bashful, Happy, Grumpy, Dopey, Sleepy, and Sneezy. So while Snow White cares for the dwarves as they have fun together, and agree to let her stay so the Queen can't find her, the Queen meanwhile finds that the huntsman has given her a pig's heart instead of Snow White's, and uses black magic to turn herself into an old peddler as a disguise, and plans to give Snow White a poison apple so she'll be in a sleeping death. It's definitely a classic for many reasons, with it not just being Disney's first animated movie, but starring many cliches to be associated with their fairy tale movies, and their princesses in general, even as times have changed. The princess being beautiful and can talk to animals, the prince that gets little to no development or appearance, the villain with a basic motivation, the cute-looking animals having fun and cute personalities, and the comic reliefs. Though I gotta say, the dwarves are my favorite characters in this film, followed by the Queen's old peddler disguise and the animals. And these little men have basic personalities that go with their names, yet I question how Doc's name matches his personality, despite being a leader. And they also have small bits of them, from Grumpy actually having feelings for Snow White, to which she makes a pie for him, and Doc having trouble saying certain words or phrases. And they offer moments of fun like Dopey and whatever he does, and Sneezy's own sneezes that can be very strong to blow others away, literally. Not to mention their animations more loose and flowing than Snow White, the Queen, and the Prince, who are all rotoscoped. There are some scary moments in it, but in my opinion, not to the level of Pinocchio 3 years later. But the forest scene where Snow White imagines the trees being creatures and logs being alligators and many eyes staring at her felt more intense than scary, at least nowadays. The songs themselves are only okay, but I find myself enjoying the songs the dwarves sing like Hi Ho and the Silly Song, than the one Snow White sings like Whistle While You Work and Someday My Prince Will Come. Yet some or most of their lyrics are memorable enough. There's not too many problems with this film other than the prince and his romance with Snow White, or a couple of animation errors, or the rotoscope being a little creepy at times, or the dwarves singing hi-ho when going to work since the song is supposed to indicate the opposite, but in short, they're mainly small potatoes. And this film did start moments that become inspirations for later Disney films, like the villain's eyes glowing, the words Jiminy Cricket before it became used as a character name, and the first use of a multiplane camera. And there's some dark implications with the Queen, from her wanting the huntsman to bring Snow White's heart in a box to a skeleton of a prisoner in her dungeon. And yet, in her peddler disguise, she is the first, and possibly only, Disney villain to address the audience directly. but otherwise it would have been unsettling in reverse. And overall, I do like this film. It's not all perfect given what I addressed, but there is some fun to it with memorable moments, fine songs, nice animation, and decent characters. And if the live-action remake has improvements over this, stays faithful, or has a mix of both, I'll be waiting to see what happens, as this film on its own is fine enough. 3 Mickeys. And that is it. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and until next time for a new video.